You're listening to the Golightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Now we're ready.
All right.
So,
Well, the camera's on anyhow, so it's good for the upload for the...
all right.
Now, what are we going to talk about?
Well, this is show number 11, right? We've got to get that
Show
straight.
number 11.
Okay, well, this is a continuation of...
Go to YouTube and watch it.
Yes. The document reading from the previous show, whatever that was. The one before 10.
10.
Oh, this is 11.
This is 11.
Oh, God.
We're
I
going
just
to
said
have a
that,
quarter-hour course
Oh,
this
yeah,
afternoon,
yeah.
which numbers come after what.
Yeah. No,
Just so you don't
I've
get
just been
confused.
reading all about the 11. It's marvellous. There's a whole lot more to 111 than the world knows about, aside from being a birthday. But okay, we've covered the stealth asteroid that caught everybody off guard. And that led to the Revelation 6:5, quoting, this is where we left off from the previous show, quoting, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, 'Come and see,' and I beheld, and lo, a black horse."
Well, just remind the audience that they might have tuned in for the first time, because our radio program is growing very, very fast. And, people come in and if we start talking about something, but very important what NASA took out of the archives. Now, what happened when this occurred, I went and checked the newspapers, and what they do is, because they're owned by Rupert Murdoch and he's a Jew, they'll go and take anything important out. And this is what they did. So this is a black stealth, what they called it, asteroid that was coming in, charcoal black. They couldn't see it. Only by chance did they have their spacecraft in the right position to see it, as it blacked out the stars from behind it. And this thing is 168,000 feet in diameter, and it was coming in. Now, similar to that, when they sent out Cassini, the spacecraft was just in the right position on the other side and looking up at Jupiter, because all asteroids that come in from space, because the solar system is moving northward, because NASA never talks, or maybe they don't even know, but we were moving northward at 69,000 kilometres or 43,200 miles per hour. And the solar system, the sun, moves towards the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy, which I predicted we would cross on the 11th of December 2011, and we did. How you can prove that, now this is good for your people that are listening, you don't really have to see it. Get yourself an old CD, an old DVD with a hole in the middle, put it in the sink, and then put a piece of paper or something over it. Fill your sink with water, and then with a knife, stop the water from turning, because it tends to spiral when you turn out the tap. So when you stop it from turning, put little flakes of something, bits of paper or something, on top of the water. So it's nicely sitting there, nothing moving. Then get a very sharp object like a knife down on the piece of paper that's blocking the hole off, and pull it away, and then watch the water drain through the hole. And you'll find, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it'll drain backwards to what you've always thought it would drain, which is, it used to drain clockwise, now it's draining anti-clockwise. So Joel and I and Dex, we did photographs of that, and the moon at that time. The moon shifted upside down while we was taking photographs. In 1 hour, it moved upside down, full moon, I think it was. So the moon itself has been rocking back and forwards ever since. And we have covered that in another video. However, it's in our archives, and we'll probably upload it again and talk it through to see what happened on that date. But because we crossed the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy, what scientists thought, and I've said all along they are full of crap, is what causes the clouds to move in a certain direction in the northern hemisphere clockwise. Water draining down clockwise. That was prior to December the 11th, 2011. Now, the reason that number is important is because the Catholic Church, when they set time with a Gregorian calendar, they rolled back, or they didn't account for the difference between 1 BC and 1 AD. Right? Now, if something is written that says the year, say 1947, current era, that's Jewish. They won't say BC because that's before Christ, or they won't say AD, right? So there's 365 days missing between 1 BC and 1 AD. They didn't count that. And they advanced time, which they shouldn't have done, on October the 4th, 1582, Gregory the 13th was told by his astronomers in the Temple of the Winds that the sundial was out. And what happened if you go into the Temple of Winds, even today in the Vatican, it's got the clouds with the face of God and lips pointing like shaped like he's blowing, and the air coming out. Well, the sunlight shines through that, and where it hit the sundial was out by 10 days. So they made the 5th of October in 1582 the 15th of October. So they added 10 days. Now, when they did that, there's two signs we're looking for. Number one was the sunrise to sunset was 666 minutes for Rome on that date. That was also when the conclave elected John Paul II, who was also a Jew. His mother was a Jew, and you can't be a Jew unless your mother's a Jew. So that's their laws. These are Khazarian Jews, right? It's got nothing to do with true Jews. We're talking about Khazarian Jews. So he's a Khazarian Jew out of Poland. That's where the Khazarians all fled to after they was put on the run by Michael Romanov in 1610. They ended up in Poland, and the very few people in Poland would escape being related to the Jews. So that's not a good recommendation. A lot of beautiful women there, though. I was there recently. They are gorgeous. The men look like Boris Karloff, but the women are absolutely gorgeous. It's a strange thing. Same applies for Mexico, by the way. The men are the little short, ugly little men, and the women are tall and beautiful. So figure that out. So anyhow, we've got the conclave electing the Pope in 1978 on that date, and you add 942 days to that, and you've got him shot in the Vatican Square there. Now, there's 942 verses in the King James Bible which have got nothing to do with the Catholics, with the word Jesus in it. So it's the beast that was wounded to death but did live. Another prophecy. So the beast representing, if you're a corporate head, you are the beast of that corporation. You are the head of it, right? So the beast that was wounded to death in the head, but did live, and of course he survived. Well, he's the man that brought in Vatican II. Vatican II is a complete abomination, and that's why the Pope said to me, "This is Benedict, what do I think of Vatican II?" So I wrote him 49 points, sent it back to him in Castel Gandolfo, which is part of the Vatican. It's sort of the summer residence, 15 kilometres or so from the Vatican itself in Rome. And he almost wept over it because he said it's so beautiful, it's so simple and so straightforward and solves all the church's problems. Which one of the notes was, every child molester will be arrested and straight into jail.
For life.
For life.
No release.
No release.
Until their death.
And every
early death.
Until death. And every homosexual will be fired. Well, he had in his tenure fired many, many more homosexuals as priests than has ever been reported.
And defrocked, and once they're defrocked, they're left to the civilian authorities to do what they will with them.
So that is what the Pope was all about. However, he's been set up as being this beast head, which he wasn't, because he was trying to, and that's the reason why he quit because he couldn't do anything about it. So he quit on the 11th of February, which was the same date, 84 years after the Vatican was formed in 1929. 84 in gematria of English is the word marshal and the word Emmanuel, which is God in the flesh, which we both are, right? Both names mean God in the flesh. So what was I talking about before I got into this business then? Oh, the Cassini was looking up at in the right position to see Jupiter that was bombarded by 21 huge, some of them larger than the Earth itself, that slammed into asteroids, that slammed into the Jupiter. And those numbers, they based on time and separation between 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right up to 21. It means mountains hurled by God. So when you get out into the deep space, we're talking about my territory. The earth is your territory where the abomination of desolation is taking place. Because most adults, and I think you're all a bunch of idiots, will argue the point, and if I was allowing comments, you'd have thousands of comments saying what an arsehole I am. Actually, I brought out a series of videos called You Are Soul. Right? So,
a deliberate play on words.
A deliberate play on words. Now, this, what we was reading, which I presented to the court on the birth date of Mary Queen of Scots, was this document I've made up, which was recording this black coal, black as coal, if they say, charcoal, asteroid or comet or whatever it was, what it is, some big lump anyhow, that if it was coming into the earth, it wouldn't burn up because of the heat, because it's charcoal. Charcoal will drop to the earth as one piece and that's it, destroy it. Now this was, if you can get to that page, read it to the people that's listening and the viewers here, and show them the document because people might be watching this for the first time.
Okay, this
is a 96-page document.
96 pages of truth.
Well, it's what I've written for the presentation to the court. And the judge took her time to read it.
Here it is. We begin talking about the stealth asteroid. Yeah, it turned up and everybody was... NASA named the black asteroid stealth due to its lack of reflective surface, making it difficult to have been discovered by observation. Oh, going back one paragraph. So we started off about Tunguska, the asteroid that occurred on June 30th, 1908, and then 89 years later to the date, NASA unexpectedly encountered this asteroid on June the 30th, 1997. It's a sign, the same date as Hong Kong was handed over to China. NASA named the black asteroid stealth due to its lack of reflective surface, making it difficult to have been discovered by observation. The precise nature of such object, composed mainly of ice and dust, disintegrated in the atmosphere high above the Earth's surface, creating a fireball.
Get back to the stealth.
No, this is it. Oh, so, I see. Oh. Okay, well, where do we find the precise nature of?
Up there, wasn't
it? Okay. It's all, yeah, this is where you have to follow the lines, the different coloured lines, because one subject runs into another.
What I've had to do, because of the complexity of this,
totally,
is that I've got holes on the margins, and then a blue line might go to it, blue travels through. And wherever it comes out, you go through the holes, flick through the pages, and wherever it comes out, the blue line will go out to point to a point. Then I'll go back in, back through the hole again, down to another page, might be 20 pages away, and then come up to another blue line, which is the point, one up. I'll just give me this one, show the... This is how I did it. You can see down the one side here where it's got holes I've cut in, and it goes through, and these lines go back, duck through the hole, go back maybe several pages to another point, and then it will do the same thing again and give you various locations. So this one here at the top there is dates, and it's got an orange hole because that orange hole or orange line also ducks through a hole and goes to another point. Well, let's pick a page, it doesn't matter. There's the orange hole ducks out there. Now that's gone through to page 29 or 23. So the hole continues on. Comes out at page 25, is it? Something like that. Now that's the only way I could put this together so that the human mind can just trace out the orange lines going through the book at these holes. It's a good way to do a book, really. Or you can follow the blue lines, or you follow another colour. And all the holes are there, so that is the way I had to put it. So this is what I give to the judge when I was on trial for fraud. What I had been charged over was altering a cheque. Well, I hadn't altered a cheque at all. I'd been given a cheque by a businessman. He said, fill it out for what I owe you. Later on, he got discovered by his partner that he'd been ripping off the money that he was trying to rip me off, 20 grand. And he was out spending it on whores and gambling, right? And his partner, nice Catholic boy, found it because he blamed me. Well, I was charged with altering a cheque. Well, I didn't alter the cheque at all. He gave me a cheque made out to my wife and said, fill it out for what I owe. So I did, $24,050, and that's how many lunations of the moon at 29.53052 days per lunation between the date of birth of Jesus, me, 17th of June 2 BC, add that number, 24,050 lunations, which is 29.53052 days, add that number in, multiply it, and that gives you my birth date, January the 11th, 1944. Now, the date of birth of myself as the Jesus figure was the 168th day of the year, and this asteroid or black hole, whatever is coming in, the height, the width of it was 168,000 feet. That's how accurate they was able to measure it, right? It wasn't 168,124, it was 168,000, round number, right? So they then took the information out of the newspapers owned by Rupert Murdoch in Melbourne, for example, because I went to the archives to look it up and it was gone. And they'd also, at that time, you could get on the internet and find out a little bit about it, and have taken out of NASA, just squashed it. Because why? Well, the guy who was in charge of NASA, his name's Cohen. Oh, he's dead now, luckily, but his name's Cohen. What's a Cohen? Right? Jewish. Understand where I'm coming from? The Jews say there are Jews and are not. It's all bullshit.
So now that we've taken 20 minutes to catch up from the previous program.
But we got the thing there. Can you read it up on the 168,000 compared to where
Yeah, here it is. Being carbon, its composition is heat resistant and it will not burn up in the atmosphere. To put its size in perspective, if it was placed beside Mount Everest, 5.55 miles high, it would be 6 times higher and 3 times higher than, and three times higher
than the highest jet.
Than the altitude that commercial aircraft fly at. 168,000 feet wide, aircraft fly at 45,000 feet.
Now, if that come in and hit the Earth, that's it, toast, right?
Now, moving right along, because we want to get out of here. We've been stuck here for 40 minutes over 2 programs. So the Greek dictionary, it's all about the elapsed time between your conception and the date of the stealth asteroid. 19,809 days, 1980 in the Greek dictionary. To select, by extension, to go see, relieve, look out, visit. And then you say, my first existence on the earth began to align with prophecy and the Star of Bethlehem, and Jupiter aligned with Venus. And the alignment began on it was in 3 BC, September 11th. So 9/11, 3 BC. which is...
Why do you think they did 9/11 on that date? It's the date. And why is the 911 the emergency number? They are slapping Jesus in the face because that's the conception date of Mary when the Holy Ghost conceived. Yahweh, the Father, Jehovah, as the soul of the baby Jesus, which has no earthly parent, because the Father, the creator of all, cannot have a father. Hello, that's why it is. Now my father today, Reginald Marshall, he hated me from birth because he knew that he wasn't my father. Right? My mother told me, the pregnancy was 11 months, you know. Because the only time of sexual intercourse was way back on the 5th of February. My mother was very pedantic with numbers. And it was an impossibility for me to be born. I was supposed to be born in November. Right? But I show up in January. Because she knew that the only intercourse she'd had was with Reggie. But Reggie thought that there was no naughty business because he knew he could count. He was a stupid man, but he could count. And he knew 9 months rolling back from January the 11th had nothing to do with him, and he thought it was my Uncle Jack. Right? And they never spoke. I only met Uncle Jack once in my life, and they lived within 2 miles of one another. I never even knew he existed. Because that's how much he hated him, because he thought he was my father. Well, I looked like him. Now, why did I look like him? When a lady conceives or an animal conceives, the womb takes on the impression and memory of the first pregnancy. So a woman can sneak out around the corner after the first pregnancy, get pregnant to another guy, and the baby will look like the first baby. Did you know that? So therefore, you've got to look like something, because I'm formed in the womb, and what do I look like? Reggie, or his brother Jack.
Who are both very handsome men.
Well,
all right, can we move along, please? We're going to be here at another show, having not progressed past page 11. So the third,
you've only got up
September
to
11th. September 11th in the year 3 BC was the conception date as Jesus. 280 days later, which is the perfect human gestation.
40 weeks.
June the 17th, 2 BC, the birth date as Jesus.
The doctors today, when they calculate a woman's pregnancy, they'll knock 2 weeks off it.
Yes.
They all do,
it's all
the
bizarre.
idiots. It's bizarre, not the point.
It's really weird. Now, here we go. Now, let's read this on the left-hand side of next page. We're on page 12. The key of David is the greatest mystery of the Bible. Isaiah 22:22 mentions it as being the key of the house of David, which is the family descent of King David.
Okay, just hold it there. Comment. D-A-V-I-D, English gematria, is D is the 4, A is 1, I is 9, V is what?
23?
22. And you have a D. David, multiply those numbers together and guess what it is. 3168. You know what that is? In Greek gematria, it's Lord 800, Jesus 888, and Christ 1480. So that's why it's the key of the house of David. It's the key of the face of Lord Jesus Christ. When you say David, think 3168, think what? Lord Jesus Christ. And the house that I did a lot of this work in is on a latitude that is 31680 kilometres around the Earth and 5813 kilometres to the South Pole, which is the height of the completed pyramid, which is another thing that they don't want to talk about. Matthew 21:42 talks about, have you ever heard of the rejection of the head, blah, 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 blah. They come to the head of the corner from Psalms 118:22. They've taken the word out. That is actually a plagiarisation of the Essene Gospels. I was an Essene, right? That's why the Essenes go back to Enoch. The pyramid was built before the flood. So we've got the Essenes Gospel, which they stole from to write Matthew. And in Matthew 21:42, it doesn't say corner, have the head of the corner rejected, blah, blah, blah. It says pyramid. So I'm going to get rid of that, because that then relates to Isaiah 19:20, which is the pyramid and the altar to the Lord in the midst of Egypt. Put it in Egypt because it's stupid. You've got to go to Egypt to experience it.
All right. So Isaiah 22:22 mentions it being the key of the house of David, which is the family descent of David. The book of Revelation mentions the same key as a key to the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is hell, the present existence on the earth. Jesus is predicted to descend from heaven and defeat the beast on the earth in an end-time battle. And that is what his life has been, an end-time battle. Isaiah 63, however, tells that he does it alone after he is unable to awaken any person to give him help, and in anger he destroys the nations. I am that key. Now this is all put together, written and presented in 1997. What is really very interesting is that I found you in the year 2008. From 1999, while I was still in Canada, I began looking for you on the earth. So everything is about synchronicity and timing. The clock, the celestial clock that ticks down. I could have, had I chosen to remain in Australia in 1996, because you were in Sydney. You arrived October the 8th, right. 1996. I arrived in Australia in 1996 after being years in Canada. I arrived on September the 4th, but I travelled down to Sydney from the north coast of New South Wales, where I was staying with my parents. We travelled down to Sydney to be in Sydney on October the 8th, because my sister was being married on October the 12th. So we would have travelled through Sydney.
Well, you'd have to go into the jail because they locked me up.
Yeah, but the point is that we were both in the same location. Now, what is extraordinary is that I knew I had a choice. I could have remained in Australia.
Well, don't look at me. It wasn't my fault.
No, I'm not. It just occurred to me that, not just occurred, but this morning, had that choice been made to remain in Australia, perhaps a different course. When did you decide to go to Melbourne to look?
Oh, I was just travelling back and forth because I wasn't allowed to on my bail provisions. So I said, stuff that. Not telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I was supposed to report to the police station every day, and I said, stuff that too. I'm not going there either.
Yes, but you found Mary Magdalene on May the 11th, 1997.
That's right. Well, I went down. My brother was living in Melbourne, and he had just recently broke up with his wife. So he wanted to get out chasing the ladies, and he wanted to go to various dances because he wanted me with him because I used to pull the chicks pretty easy, see. So
you were the chick magnet.
So I wasn't interested. Funny thing about pulling chicks, if you're not interested, they flock around like bloody moths to a flame. So they piss off and not interested. And they come after you, right? So anyhow, he'd pick up the strays bits, and he was doing all right. That's what happened.
Yeah, but wasn't it December 1996 that you moved to Melbourne to be down there more?
Pretty well, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's when I went back to Canada until it was time to leave. Anyway, all very. So Isaiah 63, no one in anger he destroys the nation. I am that key, for from my date of conception and birth, the duration of time from other members of the royal family, a series of numbers in days and years reveal truth via the Hebrew and Greek languages. And that is the whole point. You had to find those other keys that Mary provided with the children.
I'll give you some idea of that, because it is really something that is quite extraordinary, and this is what terrifies the Jews, and that is why they pulled off Fukushima, because they know I'm here and they can't stay here on earth where I am. It's called a Samson option, how Samson pushes down the temple and kills everybody and himself. Well, they are, because they think they're part of Samson, the Jews. Well, they're not, but they think they are. And their insanity is that they will destroy the earth to stop me getting it. That's what it's all about. So it doesn't matter whether you people out there believe it or not. It don't matter to me. It's not an election, right? I'm just telling you what's going on.
The Golightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
So I had to find Mary Magdalene. Now, Mary Magdalene was born Dundas Avenue, it was.
Dundas, that's it.
3134
No, 3134.
3134 miles from the South Pole. That's the coming divine judgment, Maranatha. Now, she is 1162.6 days younger than I. That is the width of the antechamber, 116.26 in this Great Pyramid.
Pyramid inches.
Her daughter is 11.626 years younger than my eldest daughter, and my marriage to my first wife, I was 1162.6 weeks old. Now, the difference in ages between her daughter and my youngest daughter is 777 days, which works out to be 2.127 years. When Michelle Nye, her name is, went today, being Mary Magdalene, she had to play a part in this. Now, she's just as stupid today as she was then. She actually was the reason for the crucifixion. We won't go into it at the moment. Now, she was 32.75 years old when she gave birth to her daughter Rhiannon, who was a swine of a kid. Like, if you got a dictionary that sort of tells the truth, look up arsehole and you probably have a name beside it, because she was one pig of a kid. However, that would be enough to turn any man off, but I stayed just the same. The difference in age is 2127. That number is Zia in the concordance of the Old Testament, James Strong's concordance, King James Bible only. 3275 is Yakan. It means stubborn. It's in the Old Testament once. Zia is in the Old Testament once. And where are they found? Side by side in 1 Chronicles 5:13, which has 7 names in it. Each name has a concordance number. When you add them all up, you get a total of 31106. The word God is found in the Bible in 4,443 verses. You divide those 7 numbers to average it, and you get 4443.714. 714 is Isaiah 714, which has the word Emmanuel in it. He will show you a sign, God in the flesh, blah, blah, blah. And that's in Matthew 1:23, talking about the birth of Jesus, and Emmanuel is the verse. And it is saying same thing. And Emmanuel, that verse, has a gematria 84 for Emmanuel, so is Marshall. God with us, it means. And the entire verse has a value of 8880. And that's the age I was when Tracy was born in Port Alberni, Canada, when the sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. And when I was born, the sunrise to moonrise was 888 minutes. And I was 8.88 years after my stepbrother was born, Ronald. Now, her daughter, this is Michelle, her daughter, who was 2.127 years younger than my youngest daughter, and 11.626 years younger than my oldest daughter, and her mother is 1162.6 days younger than me, and I married when I was 1162.6 weeks old, right, is the opening of the King's Chamber, because it got to go through the antechamber, which was 116.26 wide. Now, if you measure from the great step into the far wall of the King's Chamber, then go to the King's Coffer, then go to the ceiling times the lunation, 29.5302 days, the number is 31101, and that's how many verses there are in the Bible, and that's the Julian day I was born on. Hello? Do you get my drift? So if you're so stupid that you can't see that this is the Messiah talking to you, God in the flesh, Yahweh himself, the Comforter, and the number for Comforter is 3875. The house I grew up in, Rothschild Avenue, the distance to the South Pole is that number in miles. And the distance from the maternity ward I was born in, St Margaret's, in Darlinghurst in Sydney, the difference there is 3877 miles. And that is how many times the word God is found in the King James Bible,
No,
verse
that's the
total.
verses. The verse total.
Do you want to tell them?
Yes. The word
And-
God is actually found 4,443 times
I said
within three. No, you didn't. Within 3,877 verses.
So
Here is
God
one.
is born to the earth, 3877, verse total, King James Bible. That's what makes the King James Bible sacred, because King James was getting even with the Freemasons for beheading his mother. And his right-hand man was Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxley, who was none other than William Shakespeare. That's why it's got, wherefore art thou? Read in thine apparel. That's Romeo and Juliet. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Why? In Romeo's second act, third line, it says, two men arguing. Jeshu Maria, one says, cursing in the name of saying Jesus bloody Christ, something like that. He says, Jeshu Maria. Well, that's an Essene term, so he was giving you a message in Isaiah 63, 1 through to 5. Why? That's the age my grandfather was when I was born, right? 63, he didn't know that, but the divine part told him to do it. And it says, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? So here he is as the Lord walking back from Bosra, which is another name from Sodom and Gomorrah, and his white garment, resurrection, soul is worn on the outside. Go to Revelation about that. And his eyes were flame of fire, blah, blah, blah. And on his head was many crowns, therefore he's got to be the most royal person, which I am. That's why I told the Queen to get a butt off the bloody throne in 14th of June in 2010. She had 21 days to answer, and she didn't, so therefore she's acquiescent, meaning I admit defeat. Her father told her to give up to Christ when he shows up. That was George VI. So the whole point being, without all these numbers, which you have the numbers of the Great Pyramid, you have the numbers of the antechamber, you have the numbers of the King's Chamber, you have the height, you have time's lunation of time, you have the children that are born to Mary Magdalene, which I had to find, coming from Canada, and all these millions of women in Australia, I had to find her. First go, first pick, got it. She lived in a house which she inherited from her mother, who lived at 666 Main Road, Eltham, right? And Asshole, which was that kind of attitude was passed on to the granddaughter, Rhiannon, right? As I said, you look up Asshole in the in any insane dictionary would put Rhiannon's name in a Rhiannon, to pull a Rhiannon, right? That's what it would mean. From my dictionary when I wrote it, that's what's going to be in there. A pull a Rhiannon, right? Pull an arsehole, right? Because she was and still is, right? So I had to live with these bastards, right? All child molesters. The whole family's full of child molesters, right? Out of that comes the little girls, two granddaughters of mine, born when my mother would have been, had she lived, 88.8 years old. The other one was 8.888 years old on my 69th birthday, which is Jehovah, Yahweh. That's the value, and Leonard in English gematria. That's what it's all about. Right? And I can go on for days and days and days. So, do you think the world is going to defeat me? Well, they're trying to with the Samson option. It's called Fukushima. Right? All of these nuclear reactors built around the earth, they have bullshitted these countries into taking on the most dangerous form of energy when they can be using coal. Right? Coal is good for trees. Right? Trees love it. They say, oh, it's no good, it's going to kill all the plants. Bullshit, it's the other way around. They've convinced the world that coal and carbon is not good. Right? Trees eat carbon and breathe out oxygen. Hello? That's what this carbon tax is all about. Countries like Zaire that don't produce any carbon, they sell their carbon license to the United States. It produces a huge amount of carbon. They still get the same amount of carbon out, but the difference is the Jews are brokering between and getting interest on the money that's going back and forth between Zaire and bloody United States. And all the other countries that they're buying carbon licenses from. Credits.
Credits, carbon credits.
It's the greatest Ponzi scheme of all time. And you're all falling for it. I'm amazed how stupid you all are. I'm talking to the kids. Forget the parents. You're all idiots. Give me the kids. Forbid them not. Suffer the little ones not to come unto me. Now, if you don't understand, that means is get the fuck out the way and let me get at the children, because I'm here for the kids. I'm not here for your adults. Get it straight.
Well, we've made great progress on the show.
You're up at page 12. You're doing well.
Well, we're up to 40 minutes, leaving us 8. No, 18. We might get through another 2 pages at this rate.
Don't tell anybody else to come listen.
No, for goodness sake. Don't do that.
You ain't getting into heaven anyhow, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
If you're Jewish, run for the hills.
All right, so there are 6,666 verses in the Bible, and we find the word Lord. Now, speaking about King James, this man authorised the King James 1611 translation. So it was the 1604, June the 30th, so the same date as Tunguska and the stealth asteroid, the black carbon stealth asteroid.
I wonder who did that.
Yes, I wonder. Revelation's black horse of judgment. So, from conception of myself, Jesus, on September 11th, 3 BC, Julian Day 1720580, to my death on the cross, in 33 AD, April. That should be the third
Typo.
there.
Carry on.
Typo. Okay. Is a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days plus 280 days of the gestation, for a total of 1733205. No, that's Julian Day. Anyway, moving right along, this is all
Go to something simple.
Yeah, well, all right, okay.
They're not going to get it
No,
anyway.
let's...
Well, there's...
Oh, here
go
we
to
go.
Spiker, right?
Spiker.
Okay.
Well, no, listen to this. Matthew 2:23, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene. You've got Greek Dictionary 753. It must have been a timing something. I will come across that in a minute. From 746 and 4045, at 5045, a chief constructor, that is architect, master builder. Now, note the verse number, 223. It's the number of August 11th, 1999, which is where we started the reading from show before, and the birth date of Alaska.
That's the eldest granddaughter. There's only 2 of them.
But in 1999, 11th of August, 888 minutes sunlight for London. Now, the sun was, so on that date, the sun right above Nazareth was 753 minutes. That's where you're going with that. The sun, moon, and Venus, the morning star, Mercury, the messenger, were all above Nazareth on this date. So this is 11th of August, 1999. Jesus was conceived in the Virgin, under the Virgin, Virgo, the only female constellation. Being conceived there is a sign, as he had to be a Nazarene, as the word Nazarene has a Greek gematria of 222. Now, his birth hour was 2:22 a.m. on January 11th, which is the day, 1944.
And how much do I weigh?
I am 222 pounds, recorded in Dr. Ness' office at Port Alberni, BC, Canada, on medical report. There are 222 verses with the word truth and 222 verses with the word wisdom within the King James 1611 Bible. Now, Spica is the 16th brightest star in the sky.
And the 16th letter of Greek is pi.
Pi, 3.14159 is the value of pi. Spica, what is it? So its rise was 714 minutes,
So
and that
what's
leads
that?
to Isaiah 7:14. Quoting Isaiah 7:14, therefore the Lord himself should give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Hebrew Dictionary 3478. From 80 and 410, he will rule as God. Yisrael, a symbolical name of Jacob, also typically of his posterity, Israel. Yes, so the Star of Bethlehem on June the 17th, 2 BC, the star in Virgo, which was Spikel, 16th brightest star in the universe, 16th Greek letter is pi, which equals a circle of time. All right. Now, over here, opposed to that page, so we're back to page 14, which is Abba. As time has dragged on, the faith in God has fallen to an all-time low in the West, as power-mad churches who dominate the realm of David seek to prevent me on the basis of my unacceptable second coming. See, I knew before I found you, and all the time that I was looking for you, I knew you'd be rejected, of course. Nothing has changed since the cross. The MO is exactly the same. But people would be expecting, I call it the image of the beast, that is the image of Jesus.
Show 'em then.
Well, in a bit. But the image of Jesus built up in their minds by the beast system is the airy-fairy BS Jesus, who's the pansy, who turns the other cheek. Well, that's all a construct to have you completely deluded, so that when he does front up and presents himself, makes himself known not only to the authorities on all the planet, but the masses, then they find him unacceptable. Disappointed, if you like. Their expectation has been unmet. And the truth is that you've been deluded, deceived, and nobody likes to think of themselves as being so devoured that they would reject Jesus, so that you front up and you're not my Jesus. My Jesus doesn't swear. My Jesus doesn't do this. My Jesus isn't married. My Jesus, no, your Jesus is the image of the beast. And they're quite happy for you to continue worshipping your Jesus. And then you allow everything to happen
And
around
coming
you.
in a spirit.
Yes, that's the other thing. Oh, he's coming as a spirit only. BS. He fronted up as a man. I'll be back again at the end of the age when I'll be rejected. Nobody will believe me. You'll all be so deluded. Fronting up as a man, the Word of God. The Word of God is not pages of a book that has entrapped you all. The great thing about
Well,
the book...
children can understand it's no problem, right? You know how children rebel against their stupid parents? Well, that's because they're stupid.
Now, okay, I've spent years searching out the UFO myths and infiltrating into churches to measure the strength of the brainwashing my people have been subjected to for centuries. I, as your creator, existed with God in the beginning, and how we accomplish life in the physical realm is the wonder of it, as being misunderstood simply because you are all not yet educated by me in the flesh. God cannot do everything as you might expect, as there are laws of the universe that requires time to achieve, as time is the mother of the flesh that was caused to bring forth the animals first. The Bible mentions it this way if one cares to look. So I had to make the world so that I myself could enter into it through the womb of the created creature of mortality, and in doing so open the womb a second time to immortality, and is why I invited all who I threatened in secret with death to simply try and kill me. It keeps it simple, and try they did to no end. This was in Canada. As prophecy, my prophecy would be played out in such a wondrous way that the numbers would simply astound those who were forced to look. The Canadians realised that they had Christ in their midst, and that I was opening wonders to them that convinced all that I was Jesus. That was your little phone call to the Israeli embassy in Ottawa, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You gave them, here I am, come and get me.
I gave them the latitude and longitude of the deepest part of the lake, which was 666 feet deep at that point. So they sent their assassins, it didn't work. Bullet holes all over the house. They tried cyanide, that didn't work.
So we've got 8 minutes left. Okay, moving right along. Moving along to Matthew 1:23. This is a key verse. Okay. Behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. The gematria value for the verse is 8,880. Now in the Greek dictionary 3478 is Nazareth. Okay, Matthew 1:23. On May the 4th, 1968. This is the birth date of Tracy Lee, your first daughter. Right. I was 8,880 days old, the same number as the gematria in Greek for Matthew 1:23. I became a father to Tracy Lee Marshall, daughter of Brian Leonard Marshall, born Port Alberni, BC, Canada.
That's what's on the record there.
Yes. Now, as a little bit about the 888 and the 111. 74 times 12 is 888, and 74 is the English gematria for Jesus.
It's also my height.
Your height, yes. So you've got 888 is Jesus, 888 is also the founder, 888 is I am the life, 888 salvation of our God, 888 I am Jehovah, I change not. And then 8880, of course, the verse, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. 8880 is also an ark in which few, that is 8 souls, were saved through water. And in brackets it says the ark pictured Christ. So the ark was a prophecy of the Christ. This time now, the only salvation for anybody on the planet is to come out of the delusion and realize Christ is here and believe it.
Or die.
What happens this time when people die?
That's the end of them.
There's no coming back ever again.
This is judgment.
You will cease to exist.
You're out of here.
Yeah, you will cease to exist. Not an eternity of a burning lake of fire. No. You might go there for a little bit based on what horrors you've committed. The Jews will, yes. But
evil bastards.
Like an RFID chip, it'll be, your soul will be turned off. That's why the scriptures warn about fearing him who can kill both body and soul in hell. Well, you're in hell, and he's the dude.
Well, you look at you people that, let's say these bastards have crack houses and all that kind of thing, they're killing kids, right? Would you like them living next door to you? Would you allow them to rent a room from you? Would you support them in any way, what shape or form, or would you get an Uzi and gun them all down? This is where we're at. There's no more forgiveness. Oh, stop doing it and you're forgiven. This is judgment. This is the old man looking at you. Sure, I was the soul of Jesus, sure. But now I'm the comforter. And I'm here to comfort the children. To stop you bastards doing what you do to them. Right? You're poisoned. Look at the chemtrails. Look up. When we was in England, no one knew what a chemtrail was, and there was 40 of them at one time going on overhead. I was amazed how these people are being totally devoured. Right? This is England.
Now, moving on to the 111. 74 times 15 equals 1110. Well, we've got 4 minutes. 1110 is the root of Jesse. That's referring to Jesus from Isaiah 11:10. 111, your birthday, January 11th, 111, is wonderful. It's the word wonderful, prophetic of Jesus from Isaiah 9:6, 9:6 being your conception date again, and the resurrection. 111 is house, as in my Father's house, from John 14:2, and the promise, in your Father's house there are many mansions, which we've covered before. It's the future. It's the future from now. As the ones that make it through the judgment, their offspring will populate the universe in the future, realms of the future. They only exist within the minds of the righteous now. They do not exist in a temporal realm. And 111 is the Most High, from Daniel 4:32.
That's the details, this page here is the details of my weight on all the planets, see that?
Yes. All right, this can be another one, our next show. I'll finish with reading this page, page 18.
Got time?
Well, I'll make time. Returning to Australia came after many events had taken place in Canada. The warrant for my arrest from past deeds, which included being a criminal on bond, breaking the law again and again, then on bail, fleeing the country, to then tell the newspapers, the Northern Star, the federal police and the Canadian law officials that I would be in Australia on October the 7th, this is 1996, only to be delayed to the 8th by the Canadians. Then arrested in Sydney and once again out on bail without requesting it. Any other person would be locked up until his trial, yet I was on the street without saying a word. Since then, however, my threat to destroy all nations, unless they get a grip on the runaway banks and CIA-inspired covert governments of the United States and its parent, England, dominated by Freemasonry, a son of Idumean Talmudic insanity, the same insanity that had taken over Jerusalem when the true Judah was captured by Nebuchadnezzar in 586 BC. All these things had to come to pass, as it was the only way to cause the created to carry the word of God to the end time, as I had to exit the realm into a timeless realm, as the nature of creation is such that there was no other way of me returning to the earth. And as we all have to die once, Hebrews 9:27, the good is harvested like wheat along with the evil tares. It is how it is, and understood by few, for I am one of you now, and you and I must have free will, otherwise you would not be in our image. Jesus 1, Jesus 2, 2 lives, one spirit. So behind the present situation, the governments have been setting up the banks and multinational corporations, as well as the secret government, to be suddenly taken over, all done in secret. Here endeth show number 11.
freedomtalkradio.net